Hey guys, I'm Matt, a developer from Ohio, and in this video I'll be walking you through the Tsunami Coffee project. To complete this project, you'll need to be familiar with CSS selectors, the box model, and media queries. Let's get started. In this project, we'll use relative units and responsive design to fix an existing web page. By adding styles, we'll make sure the website is usable on any screen size. First, we'll add a background image in this main section at the top of the page. In style.css, we'll add the linked image as a background. We'll set its size to cover, meaning that it will expand to fill the page. So here, under the main class, we'll set our background image to this URL that is given to us in the instruction. Then we should also center the background because the page is center aligned. We want the background's position to be consistent when the page is displayed at different sizes. So we'll add background position, and we'll set that to center. Now when we save this, we can see that we have the background image and that it's centered on the page. You can see when I move this back and forth that that image stays aligned with the logo. The navigation bar is looking a bit cramped, so we can add some padding to make it easier to read and use. So we'll add the padding rule here to the LI elements, and we'll set that to 0.75 rem and 1.25 rem. Remember that rem units are relative to the root font size. At the top of this style sheet, the font size of HTML is set to 16 pixels. 0.75 rem is 75% of the root font size, so that's 12 pixels in this case. The reason we use rem instead of pixels is the ease with which we can change the scale of the whole page. If you wanted to increase or decrease the entire page scale, you can just change the root font size. This coffee bean graphic below the main banner is too large. We can make it smaller by setting its width and height to 10%. A nice shortcut to remember is that an image will automatically scale its height if you define a width. So we can just say that the width is 10%, and that will automatically scale the image to keep its aspect ratio. To give the image some room, we'll add a margin to the right. So that's just margin right, and we're going to set that to 5%. You can see now that we have some space between the image and the paragraph. We'll increase the font size of this H1 in rating to be equivalent to 40 pixels. Because the root font size is 16 pixels, this will be 2.5 rem, which is 2.5 times 16. So inside of rating H1, we'll set font size equal to 2.5 rem. And we can see that that changes the size of this H1. This map image near the bottom of the page doesn't scale with the window. We can fix that by adding a width of 100%. So inside of location image, we'll just set width equal to 100%. And when we save that, you can see that now the map scales with the window size. I can expand and contract the window, and it will always show and fit in the window. Now that the page is optimized for large screens, we can start to work our way down into smaller screens. If we write a media query for screens under 960 pixels wide, we can add rules that optimize the page for smaller devices. So to write a media query, we write @media, and we're targeting only screen and max width to 960 pixels. And then inside of here, we can write any new CSS rules that will only apply when our window has a width of less than 960 pixels. The empty space above the nav bar seems wasteful when dealing with smaller devices, so we'll remove it by adding a padding rule to main inside of the media query. So that will be main with a period because it's a class, and we'll add padding top set to 0 to overwrite the padding rule. And when we save that, because my window here is less than 960 pixels, you can see that that margin has disappeared. If your window is more than 960 pixels, you can drag it around by the edge to see different scales. If you resize the window, you might notice that the coffee beans graphic is taking up a lot of space, which makes the adjacent text hard to read. We'll say that the cutoff point for this is a window size of 700 pixels. Let's add a second media query for this size. So just like the first, this is going to be @media, only screen, and what we're going to change here is the max width. We'll set that to 700 pixels this time instead of 960. Inside the second media query, we'll add the display none rule to the coffee beans graphic, clearing space for the paragraph. So that coffee beans graphic is the class supporting, and it's the image inside of that. Then we can set display to none to make it disappear. And when we save that, now we can see that that graphic is gone, and our paragraph has a lot more room. We'll add one more query for an even smaller screen size, 470 pixels wide. So once again, that's at media only screen, and max width we're going to set to 470 pixels. At this small scale, that 2.5 REM rating text is looking a bit too big. We'll add a rule to cut it down to 2 REM, which is equivalent to 32 pixels. So we'll select rating H1, and we'll change the font size to 2 REM. Now, when we save that, we can see that this text is a bit smaller, which is easier to read on a smaller screen. The images below the rating are too small to view at this scale, so we'll let each one take up a whole row. We need to set their widths to 100% and remove their margins. So still within this 470 pixel media query, we'll select Gallery Images, and we'll set their widths to 100%, and we'll set their margin to 0. Now, when we save this, we can see that the images have a lot more room on the page, and they're easier to view on a smaller screen. Lastly, the navigation inside the footer is too big to fit in this screen size. Anyone on this scale is almost definitely a mobile user, so we can just hide this secondary navigation. We'll select the navigation within footer, and we'll set display to none in order to hide this. Scroll down, you should be able to see that that's now gone. A mobile user can just rely on the top navigation. Now that we've finished our responsive styles, resize the window a few times to see the improvements. You can drag the edge to see how the site looks on desktop, and then drag it back in to see where the changes occur for mobile viewing. In this project, we added styles to an existing web page to optimize it for various display sizes. A design that works on any size is called responsive because the layout responds to information, in this case the width of the window, to make sure that every element is always legible and usable. I'm Matt for Codecademy. Happy coding!